Don't stop.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me in the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. I'm your host, Zach Randall Friedman. I'm so glad you're here, especially because it's Pride Month, and that means like this year's a little bit different. This Pride Month has felt a little different. We've lost a lot of corporate sponsors for Pride events. This year, we don't see as many companies changing their corporate logos with rainbow colors. There's not a lot of DEI messages that there was before. But I have to say, I have another podcast called Listen Up Girl, and I report daily LGBTQ plus news, and there's been a lot of really good Pride stories. However, before I get into today's episode and talk about my guest today, I wanted to talk about something that I've been sitting with from a story that I read in my news. I don't know, maybe last week or the week before. There was a new Gallup poll that came out, and it's, Gallup is a really respected poll. It's not like, they're pretty neutral. I think it mostly polls the United States, and it just released their annual values and beliefs survey. And they've been tracking American attitudes towards the LGBTQ plus, issues and community for years, for decades. And then the headline for this one is, after more than 20 years of steadily growing support, the numbers are now going in the wrong direction. So let me give you some specifics, because I think the details really do matter here. We fought for years for same-sex marriage. It happened over 10 years ago at this point, and I got married in Massachusetts in 2007 when it was legal. Massachusetts was the first state to make it legal. And there's a lot of other states that were like going against it. And there's still, even in this current day and age, there's still states, if it wasn't a federal law, a lot of states would ban same-sex marriage. But support for same-sex marriage, according to the Gallup poll, has climbed all the way from 27% back in 1996 and has been at a peak at 71% in 2022 and 2023. And now it has dropped only by 6 points, but a 6-point decline to 65% in just a few years. And the percentage of Americans who say gay and lesbian relationships are morally acceptable, that's now at 62%. That is the lowest it's been since 2016, which is the same year same-sex marriage literally had been made the law across the United States. And there's data on the transgender issues, which is even more sobering. The share of Americans who view changing one's gender as morally acceptable has dropped 8 points. 8 points over the past 5 years, down to 38%. Can you believe that? Only 38% of people accept someone changing the sex and who they are inside. Now, here's the important context that I don't want to gloss over. The overall decline in these numbers is being driven mostly entirely by Republicans. Democrats' support has held steady. Independent support has dipped just a little bit, but Republican acceptance of same-sex marriage has fallen from 55% just 4 years ago all the way down to 37% today. And their acceptance of same-sex relationships as morally acceptable, well, that's back to where we were between 2005 and 2014. So let that land for a second. Republican views on our relationships have effectively been reset by 20 years. So I read all of this and I have had a lot of feelings, and I want to be honest with you about those feelings and where they are, because I think that's a whole kind of different point of my show. My first feeling was something close to exhaustion, because our community, especially in a month like Pride Month, where we get these messages from people like, we need a straight month, we need family nuclear month in the state of Indiana, and all these ridiculous things. And it's exhausting to hear these things over and over. Because here's the thing. I've been gay my whole life. I came out and accepted it when I was like 19 or 20 years old. But I've been out for a long time. And I've watched the arc of this movement from the inside. I remember what it felt like when we were fighting for the right to exist in spaces that weren't created for us. I remember the hope that came with marriage equality. The feeling that maybe we turned the corner in this country at one point. If you think about 2000 and 12 through 2000, 13, 14, 15, when Obama was in office, how things changed for the good for the LGBTQ plus community. Now I am sitting here looking at these poll numbers in the middle of Pride Month that tell me a significant chunk of this country has decided to quietly slide back to 2005 in their feelings about me, about my marriage to my husband, somebody that I have loved and been with for almost 28 years, and about my community. So that's a lot to hold. My second feeling, and this is something that took me a little longer to get to, and it was something closer to clarity because you know what? Numbers like this don't come out of nowhere. They are predictable results of years of deliberate, organized, well-funded political messaging designed to make LGBTQ plus people and especially trans people into a threat. There again are over 700 bills across the United States just in 2026, and it's today's mid-June alone. We are, and that's 700, and we haven't even finished the year out, that are being reviewed and that could potentially become laws in certain states or at a federal level. The orange convicted felon spent millions of dollars running anti-trans ads during his campaign. Conservative leaders have systematically dismantled DEI programs. They pushed legislation. They've controlled the narrative on the side of their aisle with relentless discipline. And you know what? It worked. On their people, we shouldn't be surprised. We should be clear-eyed. And my third feeling, the one I want to sit with for a minute, is especially because it's Pride Month, is defiance. Not the angry kind, well, maybe a little angry, but mostly the quiet, determined, we have been here before kind of defiance. Because here's what these numbers also tell us. 65% of Americans still support same-sex marriage. That's still 2/3 of the country. 62% say our relationships are morally acceptable. Democrats, 87%, haven't moved an inch. That is not nothing. That is a foundation. And more than that, the entire history of LGBTQ rights has been a story of doing the impossible in the face of numbers that said we couldn't. We are invisible in media. We are criminalized. We are told we are sick. We are told that the country would never accept us. We marched anyway. We loved anyway. We built our community anyway. And we continue to do that. And we moved those numbers for 20 years straight. So, yes, it really does hurt and bother me to see things like this sliding back. But I also know that the answer is not silence. It's not retreat. It's exactly what we need to do on the show every week is we show up, we tell our stories, we create connection, we refuse to let anyone decide what is for us and how we should live our lives. I also want to say this directly to anyone listening who is trans or who loves someone who is trans. I see you. The numbers on trans acceptance are harder and political targeting has been more intense and more cruel than almost anything I've seen in my lifetime. You deserve so much better than what is being given to you at the moment. And I want you to know that this show, this space, this community is yours. You belong here. Pride was born out of a riot. It was born out of people who were told in every possible way that they did not matter and who said loudly with everything they said, yes, we do. There's still an assignment here. It's that some years of this assignment are harder than others. And I have a lot more feelings where that came from, but I also have an incredible episode for you today. And I don't want to take a bit any more of your time, but I want you to meet Danny. Danny has an incredible story and talks about her life and talks about what she's doing. She lives in Los Angeles. She talks about how she got to Los Angeles. Enjoy the episode of Danny. Sorry for my little rant, but I feel like I need to let the community listening to this podcast know what's happening. I have another podcast again called Listen Up Girl. It is LGBTQ plus news. I am putting out news every single day. Good news, bad news, neutral news. But if you're not listening to my other podcast, Listen Up Girl, you need to tune in because I'm keeping the community informed. Thanks so much for listening and have a great time listening to my episode and my interview with Danny. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me in the Everything and Anything in a Big Gay podcast. Today, I have a new guest. Her name is Danielle, but you go by Danny, right?
Danny, yes.
Danny. Welcome to my show, Danny. Danny has a lot going on, and we're going to get into all that about who she is and what she's got going on. So, first of all, you're based out of LA.
Yes.
How long have you been in LA?
I've been in LA for almost 6 years now.
Okay, cool. And where were you previously?
I was in Virginia, but I'm originally from New York. So
Okay.
from New York, I moved to Virginia for a little bit, and then I came here during the pandemic.
And is this the final stop?
No, my goal is to
Oh,
tour the world.
oh, okay, got it. Okay, so let's talk about who you are a little bit. So you're a choreographer, you're a creative director, you're an entrepreneur, you have a new business that you just started. We're going to talk about, but tell me how you got into dancing and being a choreographer.
Wow, that's a good question. So actually, I moved to California for music.
Okay,
And so it wasn't until I actually got to California and I started going to a church called Revelation Church, where there's a prophet who prophesies over your life. And so I was seeing it, and this was like all new to me. You know, I had people prophesy over my life, even coming to California, but being in the church and seeing the miracles that happened there was definitely new. And so when it was my turn to know kind of exactly where God was wanting me to be, he called out my daughter first, and I was still in prayer. I didn't even realize until he had her on the mic. And then he started prophesying to me about my family, things that he literally wouldn't have known. And then, the future and how things would play out, pretty much, I would say.
okay. Now, was he on? Was he right on?
He was. His name is Prophet Lovey. Go check him out. I mean, it's beautiful. Actually, like I said, I was never aware that that was a side of, spirituality that we could tap into, but it's beautiful and I love it.
And so is he kind of predicting or is he like looking into the future to see what you're going to do?
So I don't want to speak too much because I'm not a master at
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
I don't like to, talk about things I don't know. But as far as what I've experienced, people come to the church, and once he prays for you, once he prays over you or the situation, a lot of times demonic spirits would be, revealed, and they'll be casted out of people. And so like a lot of it is similar to like the Catholic Church and
Mhm.
how they kind of did like exorcism and things like that. But I believe that now that when you know and when you believe that God can do certain things within you, it makes it easier as opposed to not, if that makes it.
Yeah. So you kind of like, you've also rebuilt your life. You had like a lot of things that happened. Can we talk about some of that? Just about
Yes.
the divorce. You went through some abuse at one point and now like did all that. So tell me about that and tell me, because it seems like it made you a much stronger person at the end of the day.
Mhm. Mhm.
So walk me through like how that happened and how you like changed your life and made it so much better.
Man, I mean that's a beautiful question. Everybody has their own story. My story just happens to hit a lot of different areas that some people don't always hit in their life, which I'm grateful for because I know that it shaped exactly like what you said, the woman I am today. And it
Mhm.
allows me to be able to be versatile in the things that I talk about, things that I'm able to help others in. So going through abuse as a child, going through divorce, even still as a child, because I was married at 19, having a daughter at a young age, experiencing life, moving away from my entire family on the other side of the world, So it definitely is a story, but like I said, everybody has their story, and I don't want to highlight anyone's struggles over the other. But when you are able to harness yourself in the knowledge of God and the knowledge of knowing that He orchestrated your life for a reason, and there's always a reason for the things that you've gone through, and it's more than likely not just for yourself. And so that's what always kept me going, is knowing that I have to be successful for my child. I have to be successful for people who are watching me. I have to be successful for my haters, because those people are actually going to turn into faithful believers. And so it's not for you. It's for, something way bigger than you. And you can't be
Okay.
selfish enough, to think that.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. And did kind of when you moved to California, you started over, like what was that feeling like? Was it just a relief that you just were able to kind of just escape all that and just make a new life for yourself and your daughter?
That's what it would seem like. But I was actually really afraid.
Okay.
I
That's
knew.
good though. Then maybe being afraid helped power that though.
Yeah, it did. It did. Because at first, like I was really excited. But as I got closer to the date that I felt in my spirit, which was July 20th, 2020, that always stuck with me. And I knew. And I literally got here at 12 a.m. that day, which is crazy. But I was afraid, and I literally got in my car and drove all the way here, and that's not something that I would have done on my own merit. Like moving across the country driving, no, like that's crazy. So it was all God ordained. So it wasn't anything like I was like, you know, it
Yeah.
wasn't me.
And how's your daughter doing in LA? Does she love being there? Is that like the place that she feels like she wants to be?
Yeah, she does. She likes Virginia a little bit better just because all of our family is there.
Yeah.
But I think being here with me and, us growing and learning together and the content that we're able to create together definitely makes it special so that when she goes back home, she has something to talk about, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So let's talk a little bit about like what you've done. So first of all, you moved in July of 2020. That was the heart of COVID. Like like you came like where everything was closed and people were maybe starting to peek their head out the window a little bit, but they
Yeah.
had masks on. I mean, that was like a real crazy time to move. So you really did it. You took it all on the line.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I can see why you would be a little afraid to kind of move, especially during that time. And when you moved to LA, like what was your purpose of moving there? Like why did you want to go there? Like what did you want to do and what was the first thing you did once you did get there?
My goal was always music. So I was always like, I'm going to be, the next Beyonce. I'm going to be performing the world and all
Yeah.
these things. And that's still, the goal in a sense, but not the next Beyonce, but the next choreographer for Beyonce kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but when I first got here, I literally, like I said, I rode with a friend and he knew somebody. Like we kind of drove together and like did like 6 hours each kind of thing. And then he knew somebody there. So I rolled my suitcases into their house literally like 12 o'clock in the morning, like that day. And I just was sitting there. And I remember there were a couple and there was like in this little apartment and the woman, she was talking to me and she was like, no, it's going to be fine. Like, I can tell you're going to do great out here, like all this stuff. And I think it back even now. And then knowing kind of how the story played out is just like, wow, like God definitely had his hand on me. And I appreciate them opening their home for the first couple of days. So shout out to them. And then we just Airbnb'd it. And then when I was in, I don't know if this is going too far, but
No.
when I was in, so I ended up having another friend. His name was Hallelujah. That was his nickname. He moved out here and he was doing the Airbnb, but he was hosting Airbnb. And so I would help them clean out the place just because I really had nothing else to do because I didn't know anybody,
Yeah.
whatever. And so they offered me one of their places for $1,000 for 30 days. And
Wow.
so I rented that out from them, but then they taught me how to put that on Airbnb. So then I ended up making enough money to get an apartment. So it's just kind of rolled from there. I got the apartment. I still didn't have enough to pay like $2,000 for a 1 bedroom. But by
Yeah.
the time all that was over, because it was COVID, like the debt that I had from that apartment, they completely forgave it. Like
Wow.
it was crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's amazing. So what kind of choreography do you do? Like what's your type of genre of dance?
I would say like hip hop, jazz, a little bit of a mix. I love majorette. I was on the marching band dance team, so majorette is my life. Yeah.
Okay. And let's talk about Glow Up House. Tell me about that. And how did you come up with the name? Because the name is
Mm.
very European in a way.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, the Lord has been opening my mind and my life up to a lot more international things. So I appreciate you saying that. Um, and I just believe that it's intentional. Like I wanted to highlight growth in women and what that looks like. I think a lot of times when we try to do it ourselves, it doesn't play out the way we think or it doesn't correlate, the way we think, as opposed to glowing up within and glowing up spiritually, and then it can actually shine through.
Hmm. And so tell my audience what it is that you've opened up and like what it's all about.
So, Glow Up House is pretty much an organization that I created for women, for men alike, who are interested in having a community, who are interested in networking with one another. I'm, just a vessel, but there are other women who are more spiritual, more advanced, more knowledgeable that, speak and come and guide us and lead us in certain things. I have my own mentors that come and speak to the women. We have a mentorship. Like I said, we have an organization where you can sign up and we do weekly Zoom calls. We do monthly events. We actually have an event coming up, the Glow Up House Run. After that, we have a retreat coming up. So yeah, if you're interested, there's some merch on there. You can book one-on-one classes with me for dance. So yeah.
Give us the website so they know where to go.
Yes, it's www.theglowuphouse.club.
Cool. And I'll put that link in the description of this podcast or video, however you're watching it. So, what's the difference you see kind of between performing, like whenever you're telling a story and then when you're just kind of actually getting people to move? Like, what's the difference between that?
The difference is the performance. So the performance is so much bigger than just dancing or, just up on the stage. Like,
Yeah.
you perform, you have to get into character. That
Yeah.
means everything about you becomes that character. And when I remember when I was younger, before I even knew, and that's why I said God is so intentional and he shapes your life. I was taking acting classes for who even knows? But I remember that was what they said, is to get into the character that much where the character literally becomes you. And, that can be either bittersweet, but based on what we've seen with other actors and actresses. But to a certain extent, that's definitely where it comes. So when I'm dancing, whatever the song and whatever the character of the song or whatever the intention or the energy of the song that the artist wants to portray, it's my responsibility to bring that out as well. Like, if I'm either beside them or even just on a video, like, I want to communicate exactly what they were trying to communicate. And so that means every part of me. But yeah, I think I kind of got off on a rant, but yeah.
Yeah, no. So tell me how, like, from a healing perspective, like when you're doing this and you're working with people, talk to me about like how that just heals you and heals the people that you're working with. Like, I think that's so important to know.
I would say it's hard to determine, what is going to heal people versus what doesn't. Like, I've done videos where I thought they were going to, or even performances where I thought this was it. Like, people are going to, but, they may not. And then performances where I was not so, confident on the feel or the energy behind it. And people really took to it. So you never really know, what people are going through or how they interpret your performance. But as long as you put your 100% in whatever the performance is, whether it's your choreography or not, that you can get the message out. There's plenty of times where a dance or a choreographer would create a dance and I'm like, I don't know how to put this in my body, but you know what? It's me and I'm going to make it for me, and whoever it's for to see it, they're going to enjoy it.
And are you doing anything with film as well?
I am.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because you're doing a series?
I am. So I want to explain the backstory of the dancer or the artist or, the whatever part of entertainment, the director or the photographer. I want to tell their story through dance in a way where people can understand that it's not always glitz and glam. Like, we post the highlights on our Instagram. We don't post the nights where we're insecure or we're doubtful or, we maybe forget to believe in ourselves. So I want to tell that story and what that looks like.
Cool. And how far are you along with the series? Are you in the planning stages, or have you already started shooting it?
No, we've shot it. We shot it last year, and so now we're kind of editing. We may have to add some more scenes just to kind of fill it up. But yeah.
Cool. And where do you want to release it to? Like, have you found a distribution yet for it, or a streaming service or whatever?
Of course, Roku, somewhere in Netflix, we're speaking into existence, Netflix, Tubi, okay, let the people see, it doesn't matter, but that's the goal. So it's with a woman named Jamila, go ahead and shout her out, that's my girl, and Valerian was also the one that did the costumes and the fashion for it.
Oh, awesome. And then can you talk to me about cardio healing?
Yes. So cardio healing is the umbrella company with Glow House underneath.
Okay.
Also the nonprofit. So there's Cardio Healing LLC, and then this Cardio Healing organization. And so the organization helps dancers get booked into jobs.
Oh, that's
mainly, not necessarily on a commercial basis, but more like performance based. So specifically, we have the big performance at the end of the year, the New York City ball drop at the end of the year. And so a lot of dancers get booked for that, and they're able to get paid, and they're able to get costume, they're able to have rehearsals and kind of get better opportunities from there based off that organization and people pouring into them that way.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. So, where you started from, kind of living on the East Coast, divorce, abuse, now you're in LA. Tell me what you think. Like, how do you feel? Do you feel as a, like, what does being a strong woman mean to you? Because that's what you've turned into. Like, what does that mean to you?
Knowledge. That means knowing. Because I was always strong. I was always beautiful. I was always confident, but it didn't feel that because I didn't know that. And so once
Okay.
that knowledge really began to be revealed to me and it opened up to me, I'm like, wait, I can't be stopped. I'm not what they say I am. I'm not, like I have to know that even on my worst days, I'm still that girl. You know what I'm saying? Like even
Yeah.
when, I may have to sit down, it's not because I'm sitting down because I can't. I'm sitting down to prepare for when I get back up.
And what do you want your daughter to kind of learn from you? Because it seems like you have a lot of things you could teach her. So, what's if you had to pick two things, what would you want her to learn from you?
Oh my gosh, right now we're working on cleanliness, okay? Keeping my kitchen
Oh,
clean. No. Keeping my kitchen clean. No.
yeah,
uh, no, resilience and going after your dreams, going after what God placed inside of you because somebody needs it. Like, I don't care if it's one person. If you do it, if you give 100% to even that one person, you'll get a million other people to follow. So just do it.
awesome. And if you think about the future, like five, not too far in the future, 5 or 10 years from now, like where do you see yourself? What would be? What do you want to manifest that would be a perfect life for you in 5 or 10 years?
Ooh, I receive. My big, beautiful mansion house with my husband and my Range Rover Jeep with the gold rims and the purple gold. Okay, I would have, like I said, did I say marriage? Did I say my man?
You said a
Um,
man.
definitely my career, like at the peak, choreographing for artists around the world, going on tours around the world for major artists, movies, shows, my own podcast, having my daughter be an employee under my business and grow and enter that industry and the industry with proper knowledge and protection. Having major moves done at my church that I've initiated. I'm just like, I'm trying to get it all in, okay?
Yeah. And if you like, you talked about Beyonce at the beginning. Is she like is she the dream person to do choreography for, or if not her, who?
If I can get on stage with either, when I get on stage with her and Chris Brown, that would be like top tier for me. And I
Cool.
know I'm going to choreograph for Glorilla. I know I'm going to choreograph for Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B. Like, I know I'm choreographing for a lot of Christian artists as well. A lot of major artists, the baby. I know I'm choreographing for them. But if I can just touch the stage with Beyonce and Chris Brown, that is
Yeah.
like, those are like my dream artists. Not even going to lie.
And have you been in contact with Cardi B or anybody like that in order to try to make that happen?
So I'm still figuring it out, like
Okay. Yeah.
I have to, because this is new to me. Like, it wasn't until maybe 3 years ago when I knew, like, when I got the prophecy that this was what I was supposed to be doing. 2 years prior to that, 2.5 now, I was doing music, solely music. So, after the prophecy, it definitely, changed my way of thinking, changed what I had to do, who I was looking to. So, I'm hoping that Fatima Robinson, sees me. I'm hoping
Yeah.
that, um, other choreographers take notice to me and like me and trust me that I'm going to do my job on tour and do it well.
Awesome. Cool. So, if you want anybody to take anything away from this conversation, is it right now to go to the Glow Up House website and like take a look and see how they can get involved, how they can get merch, just kind of all that? Is that the best thing that you would kind of want people to do today?
Yes, please, definitely join the community. It's a beautiful community. We have wonderful ladies that help us. Like I said, my own mentors, people that have helped me, have seen me, that have, you know, helped me glow. Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, do it. And we all have learning to do. Like, I'm still learning. So that's why I said I'm not just the one that's just teaching and that, no, we are all in this together and we all can learn from each other. And that's what it's about.
That's awesome. Well, I think you're going to be a huge success. I love it that you're helping people and that you started this nonprofit to help people in the community, in the world, and stuff. And I'm sending good vibes your way to get you in front of Beyonce. So let's just you
Amen.
know a nice world tour, right? That would be
Oh,
amazing, right?
yes, yes, Zach. You better speak it into existence. Touch and agree.
Well, thank you so much for being on. You were an amazing guest, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future with you. And I can't wait to see Beyonce when she's up on stage accepting a Grammy and saying thank you to Danny for helping make all these music videos and my tours amazing. That would be amazing to see. So,
Yes, hallelujah. You better speak it, Zach. Yes, Lord.
well, thank you so much for being on. It was amazing to meet you. And anybody that wants to learn more, I will put again the link in the description of this podcast or video, and check it out and go and get some merch and see how you can get involved in the community. So thank you so much again for being on.
Thank you so much, Zach. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.